I just want to put a disclaimer before this video starts. I've never played Persona 3 until Portable released in January 2023. So I'm not comparing the original P3P with its remaster. I'm instead just treating this like a game I've never played before instead of a comparison. If you know me, you know that I've been wanting to play any version of Persona 3 since 2021. After falling in love with Persona 4 and 5, I knew I couldn't pass up on the opportunity to play 3 Portable when it was announced as a remaster back in 2022. After roughly 70 hours, I thought I would like it. But that couldn't be further from the truth. This is my spoiler-free review of Persona 3 Portable. I honestly just didn't like the story. Okay, TLDR, you move into a dorm and you awaken to your persona a few days later. It's practically the same intro as Persona 4 and 5, honestly, but what makes it different is that you gotta climb this tower called Tartarus to defeat shadows that are taking over during an hour called the Dark Hour. While it sounds unique and interesting at first, how it's handled is incredibly sad and boring. Every month a new boss will appear somewhere in the city, and it's up to you and your party to take it down to stop these cases of apathy syndrome from appearing. Basically, that condition will make the NPCs around town turn into quote-unquote zombies. So after you defeat the monthly boss, you and your team just kinda chill for a few days like nothing ever happened. Then Elizabeth, or Theodore if you play as FemC, will call you and tell you a new block of Tartarus is open. This basically means it's time to grind again until a new boss has appeared. Repeat this like 6 to 7 times and that's Persona 3 Portable in a nutshell. What sucks is that the climax of Persona 3 Portable doesn't even happen until December in the game, and by that time I wanted to be done with it so badly that I just didn't really care that much. The pacing felt all off, and even by the halfway point I just wanted it to be over. The whole story in general was just so monotonous and I really just didn't like it. Another very frustrating aspect was how the characters handled darker topics. They would all be sad, and the next day they acted like nothing ever happened. It was like pulling teeth to get them to have emotions, honestly. I wish the story could have been expanded upon and made more unique, because could they seriously not think of anything better than to climb a tower for 80-something hours? So after that train wreck of a story, certainly the gameplay makes up for it, right? Oh no, Tartarus is so bad. There's well over 200 floors you have to climb up and it's so boring. Like, it's by far the most repetitive game I think I've ever played in my entire life. You scour the floor for the staircase while also fighting shadows and finding treasure chests, or briefcases, whatever you fancy. See, it sounds fun in theory until you realize you do that over 200 times. Doesn't sound so fun now, right? On top of that, you literally have to grind for hours on end, and I almost quit the game right then and there. I was preparing for the final boss when I realized that my entire party was 15 levels under-leveled. I spent roughly 5 to 6 hours on the same floors of Tartarus fighting enemies over and over again. I hadn't had to grind at all throughout the game, as completing an entire block of Tartarus will have you be on par with the boss of the month, but it was vastly different from the final boss, and I hated it. By the time I was finished with Tartarus, I was shocked I didn't have gray hairs at that point. This next part doesn't really go into the gameplay section, but I really don't care. I'm gonna put it here anyway. If I have to hear mass destruction one more time, I might lose it. There's literally no way to change the battle music. Trust me, I've tried. And it got so repetitive to the point that I would mute the game entirely and listen to either one of my many playlists or a podcast. Yes, it was that repetitive. Battles themselves felt the same as Persona 4, so I didn't have any complaints there, but that's really the only nice thing I can say about it. Everything else is just so awful. So you're probably waiting for me to talk about the stamina system, right? Basically, if you don't know, after being in Tartarus for a while, your characters will get tired and not do as well in battle. Well, I definitely would be complaining about it if the system actually worked for me. Yes, you heard that right, the stamina system just never worked in my game. I could clear an entire block in one in-game day and my entire party would feel completely fine. I'm so glad my game glitched out on that aspect because I've heard horror stories of the stamina system in Persona 3. But overall, yeah, Tartarus kinda sucked. Okay, but that's only Tartarus. How's the other half of the game where you go to school and all that? Well, it's just as boring. The first major complaint I have is, why am I a dot? No, seriously, why is the protagonist not get a character model for this segment? I mean, I get this is on the PSP and they had to cut a lot out, but could they seriously not think of something better? Besides the fact that I'm literally a circle, social links were really bad for the most part. A lot of them were just so boring and I'm still confused about some of them. Most of them had the same problem of being way too short. Like, the character would say like 6 or 7 lines of dialogue and then you'd rank up with them. Or, even worse, The same thing would happen for multiple ranks straight. Let's take Bebe's as a great example of this. He's making this kimono for what, like 4 to 5 ranks straight? He's lucky he's a fun character because I would have stopped that social link right then and there. Another frustrating thing about this game was the fact that there are no platonic options for female characters if you play as the male protagonist, which the game encourages you to do if you've never played Persona 3 before. So by the end of the game, since I wanted as many maxed out social links as possible, I ended up with like 5 or 6 girlfriends. Thank goodness in Portable the social links can't reverse or break completely if you date multiple people, because I would have been in a lot of trouble. The majority of the women anyway weren't really interesting to me, so it was frustrating being forced to romance them if I wanted more social links. While I understand the female protagonist doesn't have this issue with the male characters, they should have done the same with the male protagonist in regards to female characters. Yes, I understand that this was the first Persona game to ever introduce social links, and yeah, while I know the developers were just getting their feet wet in regards to the idea, it honestly fell through and left me more frustrated than anything else. Well, besides mass destruction, the music was really good. A lot of the songs were stuck in my head even after finishing the game. What shocked me was when you hear a song for the first time in the game, you probably won't understand how depressing the lyrics actually are, and I loved that subtlety that was given to a vast majority of them. I'd never really seen a game do that, and I was totally on board with it. Another great aspect of Persona 3 Portable was the many songs that contained rapping. It was super cool to hear, and it was great to listen to Lotus Juice for the first time in a Persona game, at least for me. But yeah, a lot of the songs were just super catchy, and I had a lot of fun listening and vibing to them. Sadly though, not everything is sunshine and rainbows. The characters were by far my least favorite of any Persona game I've played. A lot of them I couldn't connect with, and they all felt pretty one-dimensional. The interactions between the characters were practically non-existent as well, which left me super frustrated. Coming from Persona 5 and especially Persona 4, I just expected the characters to have more dialogue amongst one another, but that never really happened. I think one of the major problems I had was that there was no 3D models outside of Tartarus. I couldn't stand it, and it really ruined the experience for me. It was hard to get attached to any of the characters, but especially the main character. When you could only really see him have the same facial expression throughout the entire game, how could I get attached to that? Like seriously, why did he feel more robotic than Aigis? The characters are always one of the biggest parts of any Persona game, and to see such a downgrade made me pretty upset. So yeah, I really didn't like Persona 3 Portable. I'd give the game a solid 2-star rating for really bad characters, repetitive gameplay, and a story that felt so simple and boring. The only saving graces were the music and the combat, which really isn't much. I just wish I could like the game more, but I feel like I'll probably never try another Persona 3 version after this, as Portable left such a sour taste in my mouth. If you're dying to play Persona 3, I would advise against playing the newly released version of Portable. Going from 3D models in Persona 4 and 5 to 2D portraits threw me off so much to the point that it didn't feel like I was even playing a Persona game to begin with. If after this you still want to play it, more power to you. I wish you the best of luck out there, soldier. Thank you so much for watching my review. What do you think of Persona 3 Portable? Let me know in the comments below. Also, while you're down there, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more reviews and other gaming goodies, and turn those post notifications on so you know when I post next. See y'all next time.